that has been going really well. Not a place I ever thought that I would be when I got married and was monogamous many years ago, but it's wonderful, and I'm so lucky to have my metamour in my life. We call each other our marvelous metamour, and the three of us travel together and cook together and have family meals together. We are a resident V and not a triad, so I don't have intimate relationships with my metamour. We just share a partner as a hinge, so that's different from a throuple or a triad.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently, and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Well, welcome to episode 427. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have a great conversation with Natalie. We first talked to Natalie back in September 2023 on episode 304. In this episode today, she shares an update on her story, including what it's been like to be living in a nesting V with her husband and his partner, or her metamour, for about 4 years.
Yeah, we're super thrilled to have Natalie back on the podcast for a deeper dive into what it's like living under one roof with her husband and his partner. This interview is full of wonderful conversations, not just about living together, but also how Natalie approaches relationship anarchy, how she and her husband navigated coming out to their families and their son, and so much more. Plus, Natalie just published her memoir yesterday.
Super exciting. Natalie's book is called Saying Yes, My Adventures in Polyamory, and as you'll see, she talks more about the book later in the interview, but we highly recommend you go grab a copy and also check out all of her work on her website. Natalie also publishes her writing regularly on Medium. Links to all of this are in the podcast show notes in your podcast player or on our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com.
Natalie also sticks around for our new bonus question segment that you can now listen to as a premium subscriber. In case you missed it, back in November and December, we introduced some new bonus questions that we were sort of publishing at the end of our regular episodes for free. The questions for the bonus content are randomly drawn from various card games like Where Should We Begin, Get Squirmy, and the Non-Monogamy card game. Some questions are deep, some are fun, some are sexy. We go wherever the cards and conversations take us, and we've been having a great time. These bonus questions are available to our premium subscribers for just $4 a month or $40 a year. So if you want to get some extra questions and content, plus ad-free episodes, head over to our website, scroll down on the homepage, and sign up for the premium subscription right there. And now, for our premium subscribers, we're going to jump right into the interview with Natalie. And for anyone else, we've got a couple of quick announcements.
First up, we wanted to remind all of you about our community. We lead a community full of over 300 people socializing and supporting one another every single day. We host the community on a platform called Mighty Networks. You hear us talking about this all of the time. But we also have monthly community support Zoom calls, monthly virtual workshops, and in-person events as well, all for less than $10 a month. Our next monthly workshop is coming up tomorrow. If you're listening to this on the day it came out, January 15th, 2026. It's with Marsha Basinski on why you don't know what you want and how to find out. If you happen to miss this event and you're like, darn it, I really wanted to catch that, don't worry. The recording for this workshop is posted in our community, along with recordings from all of the previous workshops that we had in 2025 and 2024. Also, one of the perks that you get when you're part of the community is access to the premium subscription included with your community membership. So you can go and listen to the bonus content when you join the community as well. To join the community, go over to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Surprise, surprise, click on the community tab, and all of the information is right there.
In case you missed it, what you get
Yes,
when you're part of the
lot.
community, you get so much. You get these monthly Zoom calls, you get virtual workshops, you get in-person events, you get access to the premium subscription.
And support.
And you get support, you get friendship, you get community, and you get access to not just the live workshops, but all of the recordings. So there's almost 15 workshops you can go back and listen to. You're missing out if you don't join.
Yes.
That's what I know we're biased. I know we're biased. Anyway, we'd love to have you come join us. Check it out.
Yes, we really would. And we also have some other fun events coming up where we want to be clear, you don't need to be a member of our community or the premium subscription to join either of these upcoming events. They are open to the public.
The next event is coming up on January 22nd. It is our virtual speed friending. We've been doing these since way early in the pandemic, and we've just kept them going because everybody has a blast. Again, anybody is welcome. You must be open-minded and respectful. These are a great way to meet like-minded people from around the world in a low-pressure and fun environment. We bring everybody together in Zoom. We do quick introductions, and then we fire a question at you, a fun question, actually just like the questions from the premium subscription, the bonus questions we play. Then we put you in a breakout room with a couple of people. You talk about that question for a few minutes. We scramble the rooms, ask a new question, and we do that over and over for about 2 hours, and everybody has a great time. So we'd love to have you come and join us. You can find out more and sign up either by clicking on the events tab of our website or clicking on the big banner right at the top. You can't miss it. We'd love to see it. Come join us.
While you're over on the events tab, you can also find out more information for our next in-person retreat called Relationship Recess. We will be gathering outside Orlando, Florida, May 1st to the 3rd, 2026. We are collaborating with the team from Multi-Amory and bringing in a strategic play consultant named Gary Ware as well. Join us for a weekend full of fun, games, play, and connection. We are so excited for this event. Tickets are on sale now. Find out more over on our website. We would absolutely love to have you come join us.
Yeah, and there actually isn't a better time to grab your ticket because ticket prices go up on February 1st. So get your tickets now, get your butt to Florida, and come join us. We can't wait to see you.
Yes! And finally, we wanted to remind all of you about our favorite way to get tested for STIs. It is stdcheck.com. You hear us talk about it every week. This is a service Finn and I use. We've been using it for years. We love it. It is fast, efficient, discreet. And by using the links on the resources tab of our website, you save $10, making a 10-panel test only $129, and you support the podcast. So thank you so much in advance for using those links.
And what better time to get tested than right here at the beginning of the year? Kick off the year right, know your sexual health status, and get out there and meet some incredible people.
Also, a quick reminder to reach out to us, send us an email. We would love to have you come share your story on the podcast, just like Natalie does today. Reach out to us, send us an email over on the Contact Us page of our website.
You can also ask us questions or give us any feedback you might have, as long as it's positive. We only accept positive feedback.
That's not true.
That's not true. We take all the feedback. But yes, we would love to have you come share your story on the podcast. And without further ado, let's go talk to Natalie.
Let's go.
Welcome back to the podcast, Natalie. We're excited to chat today here in early 2026 and got some exciting things happening in your world, and we're excited to get some updates. So welcome back.
Thank you so much. I had such a good time talking to you guys a couple years ago. 2026 is starting out really well. So thanks for having me.
Totally. Yeah. When we did the last interview, I said, I think 5 times at the end of it, like, we're looking forward to next time. Can't wait till next time. Can't wait to do part 2.
Well, here we are.
And here we are.
2 years. We last talked to you, I guess it published in September of 2023. So like just over 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know, who didn't go back and listen, that's okay. We'll give them the quick Cliff Notes version of what was non-monogamy up until about 2 years ago.
I don't know that there have been any major changes, but so I'm Natalie Davis, and I identify as polyamorous and also as a mom, a spouse, an aunt, a writer, and lots of good things. But in this space, I guess I had been embarking on my resident V adventure, or that's my domicile. I live in the Washington, D.C. area with one of my partners, my nesting partner and spouse, and also with my metamour, my husband's girlfriend. And I guess when we spoke last, it had been a little over a year that we had been all living together. And now we're almost on 4 years. And that has been going really well. Not a place I ever thought that I would be when I got married and was monogamous many years ago, but it's wonderful, and I'm so lucky to have my metamour in my life. We call each other our marvelous metamour, and the three of us travel together and cook together and have family meals together. We are a resident V and not a triad, so I don't have intimate relationships with my metamour. We just share a partner as a hinge. So that's different from a throuple or a triad, just to clarify that. Yeah, and I guess like the biggest news for this year is the book that I had been working on. It's published, and the publication date, January 13th, and very exciting. had a big launch party and just enjoying all of that and sharing a little bit of my life story through the book, Saying Yes, My Adventures in Non-Monogamy, and just really happy with the positive feedback I've been getting because polyamory just means so much to me. And I love to talk about it with people who've been living it for 20 years, for people who are just starting out, and
Yeah.
for people who don't even know what the word is. If you're receptive to listening, I will definitely talk about it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and yeah, when we talked last, you had mentioned, well, we talked a little bit about your writing on Medium and that you were working on a manuscript. And it's so exciting to be here 2 years later. It exists as a book now. As of yesterday, astute listeners, you would have picked that up. That was one day ago your book came out. So super excited for that. Congratulations. And you can go buy a copy of it. Links are in the show notes. But I'm curious too, like you've been in this resident V for 4 years, but you've been non-monogamous. I mean, that wasn't like your launch point for
Right,
non-monogamy.
right.
That's
No.
two decades or more of exploring.
Yeah, I like to say, I mean, this is like graduate level sort of
Mm-hmm.
polyamory. I wouldn't start out this way, although I know during the pandemic, a lot of people ended up moving in together. And
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
that actually was a taste of living with my metamour. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, my non-monogamy journey started, man, like at least 20 years ago. I was married to my college boyfriend and we were monogamous and we got married and we had a kid. And it wasn't until later that we opened up our marriage and started with lifestyle and swinging. And then I found that polyamory was better fit for me and having um, my own relationships that were separate
Mhm.
from my partners. And that has been how I've identified for the last 15 years or so. And I've
Yeah.
had many relationships from long-term partners to comments that I see when they come to a conference once or twice a year, to people I see once a quarter. Some times in my life, I don't have other partners, and sometimes I have many. So it's an ebb and flow and a discovery and a journey. And I just wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, I love that, and you kind of touched on one of my other questions, is which you're living with your metamour and your nesting partner slash husband, and you're also, it sounds like you're still exploring for yourself and dating and creating partnerships as well, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the exciting and opening part of polyamory is that there are always more people to meet, more types of relationships to explore. Been going to some more polyamory conferences and meeting people and just learning so much. I used to be scared of this the word relationship anarchy. It just
Mhm.
sounded like messy and oh, what does that mean? And I presented at Polytopia in September and I met some wonderful people out in Portland. I'd never been to Portland. It's just a great place. And I saw a presentation on relationship anarchy. I'm like, I'm going to go to this and find out what this is about. And I think really relationship anarchy is just polyamory. It's just being able to deconstruct the monogamous narrative and build a relationship. Like that's what anarchy is. It's like deconstructing, destroying whatever, the thing that exists and building from the start in an intentional way and having the elements of a relationship that you and the other people in the relationship want. And so I'm like, wow, like relationship anarchy is amazing. Like that makes perfect sense to me. Even though I don't ever view myself as an anarchist, I kind of like structure and format and all of that. But that liberation to say monogamy is not what I want, it's not working for me. And just because that might have been all I knew, that doesn't have to be what I have now.
Yeah.
Just because you know, lived in a monarchy and you didn't know what democracy was, when you find out what it is and you're like, yes, this is great. I'm going to pursue this. So that's
Yeah.
kind of how I think about it now.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, I love that. I think you kind of touched on something there. I mean, I've been thinking about a lot too, which is so much of what we're doing in non-monogamy, which you kind of have to do when you're navigating relationships with different people, is you have to talk about it. You have to come up with ideas, and I don't even think that structure and anarchy, relationship anarchy, are mutually exclusive, right? I feel like you could have a relationship with somebody inside of the relationship anarchist sort of model to be like, it's a very rigid structure. We meet like this, we do it like this, we see each other like this, and that's what we both decided works for us. And huzzah, everybody in that dynamic wins. To me, that's amazing.
And so, yeah, just the freedom to build your own relationship.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I view relationship anarchy. So huzzah to that. And be like, you should be able to, two consenting adults should be able to decide what kind of relationship they want to have, or 3 or 4 or however many. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm curious for you, kind of what are some of the changes personally over the last couple years?
changes personally, definitely living in a resident V. And they've like just been very positive changes. I don't want to sound
Mhm.
like super cheesy, but it's kind of when you find people that you click with and a dynamic that works. And okay, one of the changes for me is that my metamour really likes to cook. And I have been cooking for my family, my husband, and my child, and working for many years before we entered into this dynamic. And the fact that that is her creative outlet and that is a thing she likes to do for her family means that I don't cook much anymore. And I am great with that. You know, some people, cooking is a creative venture and they love doing it. And for me, it has been more of a like, this is a thing that I do for my family and we all have to eat and hopefully it tastes good, but it's more of a chore. So the fact that I don't cook that much is a very nice change. I am the forager of the household, so my metamour does not like grocery shopping and there's none of that. So I put it on. You put it on the list. I will go get it. So I'm kind of the errand forager person, and she likes to cook. She likes to bake. She has some dietary restrictions, so she does baking. I've learned from her more about baking because I was not much of a baker, but I learned how to do gluten-free and dairy-free baking now, and I can do pies. So I learned so much from her. I mean, she is much younger than me, and our relationship is m- it's like you can't stick it in a box because in some ways we are like sisters, friends, kind of on the same level. In some ways, I have much more life experience, and I might be able to offer insights to help her with something. But she's from a different generation, and she is much better with technology. And even with my book, she helped me very much editing my book. She's a very talented editor, and getting the perspective of a millennial, and maybe you don't want to say it that way, or that this might come across in a way you didn't intend. And also, she's just a very bright person, so I learn so much from her all the time. And there's the dynamic of the three of us that when I say family dinners, if we are all in town and, don't have a date or something, the default is that we all have dinner together. And we have dinner at 7:30. She works a full day, she remote works, and then she makes time to prepare dinner. Sometimes I help with that, sometimes I make dinner, and then after dinner, we all clean up together. Our partner is dishwasher. That's where he feels comfortable. She and I put the food away and dry the dishes and clean up. And then maybe if we don't have evening things to do, we watch a show together. She's in graduate school now, so her evenings are a lot busier. And then there's dessert. So we have our routines
Mhm.
connects us. And this is all nothing to do, like, with sex at all. This is
Yep.
3 adults who care about each other, who love each other, who are living together in a household. We travel together. We talk about what kind of things we want in the house, but we also all have our own space. So it's very nourishing. we like brainstorm about, you know, ways I'm going to promote my book, things that are going on at work with her and issues she might have with a project or a boss or our partner, conference that he's working on or projects. And then we just all brainstorm together. If one of us has a victory, we have this red plate that I don't know if you've seen these things are kind of like these Irish or Celtic red ceramic plates. And if you have a victory or it's your birthday, we call it a red plate day.
Okay.
So sometimes when we're setting out the table and I'll see that my husband has put out the red plate, I'm like, oh, did someone have something happen today? And he'll say, oh, yes, your metamour had XYZ happened at work today, or he had something happen, or no, the red plate is for you because, you got your letter to the editor published in the Washington Post today, or whatever it was. And so we share each other's victories that way. So that's, I guess, the biggest thing that's happened is just that this is my home life and this is my family. I mean, my son is grown. He doesn't live with us anymore. He comes to visit, but my everyday resident family
Mm-hmm.
is my husband and my metamour. Not a thing I ever thought I would say.
Right? Yeah, like 20 years ago, you shocked her.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd even have like another person living in my house,
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
And
Yeah,
and it sounds like one way, like each of you have your own space, and so that I imagine that is pretty critical.
It is, and it works with our expectations and what we want out of the relationship and the home life. When the first time during COVID, when we had somebody move in with us, my metamour wanted much more time with our shared partner, and everything had to be divided 50%, and it was a lot more competitive. And it was like watching the minutes and that was kind of stressful. There was like always a low level of stress like that. Also, it was COVID and we couldn't go out.
Mm.
And the fact that my metamour now likes her alone time a little bit more, and doesn't feel like there's this clash. But yes, we have our own space. Like our shared partner typically sleeps with me because she prefers to sleep alone, and also just because we have been sleeping together for decades, and that is where we feel comfortable. So when you have someone enter into the household that now wants 50% of that, that was a lot for me during the pandemic. But I was like, okay, it's the pandemic and we make adjustments. But looking at living in an environment where there was always this counting of the moments and counting of the nights, and that was not a healthy way, was not a serene way for me to live. And we had to just do that to figure that out. Because we wanted different things. So, I mean, if you're going to enter into a resident V, we took this really slowly the second time around. And my metamour was at the house, 90% of the time for several months, but she did not live here. She paid rent somewhere else. And it was after several months, I was like, hey, we are all getting along great. This is your relationship and you need to decide. But I am not a barrier to you moving in. I think we we get along great, and I would like, so you decide, but I'm good with it. But like I said, we took it very slow. Like that was over a period of 5 months and talked it out a lot.
Was it up to like leading up to the point where she was sort of doing the 90-10 or like maybe building towards it? Was it a thing that you had all discussed like, hey, here's sort of what we're interested in, down the road and how can we build towards that? Or did it sort of just start happening and at one point you're just like, hey, like 90% of your stuff is here if you want the last 10, like I'm just curious how it sort of
Yeah, yeah.
developed in a way that everybody had their own agency around it.
It it started when my metamour had a medical procedure and she was living by herself, and I didn't want her to be by herself after the procedure. Like she had these stairs she had to go up to the place where she was living and she was by herself. And I said, well, you should definitely just stay with us while you're recovering. And that was good because it ended up the recovery was a little bit longer than she thought. And during that period and it was around the holidays. So around that like 2 or 3 week period where we were living together, we had like a test of how it might be us sharing space. And I mean, she had her own room. It's big, own bathroom. Like there was no concerns there. And then she just ended up like staying over more often because there was already kind of a designated space, and checking in at her place to get her mail and to maybe stay a night or two. So it happened gradually like that. And she knew that I was a little gun shy because of what had happened during the pandemic with the other partner. And
Yep.
that had not ended all that great. And so she's conscientious, astute person. And she's like, okay, well, and I don't think she even knew about that she wanted to move in. None of us actually knew that that was going to happen. So it sort of happened organically or naturally and just seemed to make sense. And then, yeah, before it happened, the three of us sat down at a table. We talked about what we wanted. We talked about how it would work. We talked about the things we were concerned about. And there wasn't too much. Yeah,
Yeah.
we were, I guess, lucky. I mean, I don't really know many people that have this situation. I definitely know households that are larger where it's like a co-parenting,
Mm-hmm.
and that seems very helpful. You know, the more people that can help with kids, the better. And I definitely know households like that. But ours is really just three adults most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 Well, and it sounds like you were able to slowly like learn and help yourself learn that this is a different person and a different relationship and a different dynamic than what had happened during the pandemic.
Right.
But that took time to really set in.
Yeah. And like I said, we were slow rolled, and my metamour knew about the other metamour. Like, my husband was seeing both of them at the same time. There was definitely an overlap when we were all metamours. So we were experienced with that dynamic, and my metamour had gotten out of a not great relationship. And so she was in like no hurry. I don't think she had any plans to live with anyone. She wanted to live by herself, but it just seemed right. And
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
everybody is free to change their mind and go their separate ways. But it's like I said, almost 4 years now. And I can't imagine like not having her in my life, not having her in my house. I'm not saying there aren't like frictions like you had with anybody that you live with, but we just jibe with what we want and what we need most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say that our partner is a fantastic hinge. He has a lot of bandwidth for dealing with relationships. He likes to feel needed and he likes the mentoring. So for both of us, he likes to be involved with what we're doing. And his relationship with us are different, which that's one of the great things about polyamory. Things that he shares with my metamour are not things that we share. But then there's a huge overlap of things that the three of us like to do together, like non-sex things, like
Mm-hmm.
music that we like, and places that would like to go, and foods that we like to eat, and shows that we like to watch, and going apple picking together, or working in the garden, or doing things around the house. So we are this household family, and and we just like talk about polyamory and how we that's important to us and moving the ball forward, and how she can't be as open as she was at the last place she worked, and how he and I can be more open now at our stage in our life. And how do we navigate that? Like, is it good if he comes to a work gathering with her or not? Whereas at her old place of employment, that was much easier. So we navigate those kinds of changes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just as you're talking, like it popped into my head. I wanted to make the comment, like, yeah, it sounds like total anarchy. But it's like to me, it sounds amazing, right? And I think that to me flies in the face of what people often think anarchy is it's just craziness. But you've just talked through like how sort of structured and also like loosely held the structure is. Like we don't, yeah.
I think that like the anarchy for me is being able to create your own structure because we are kind of a lot of type A personalities and like structure and routines.
Yep.
So we typically, eat dinner at 7:30 every night and she works until X time and I work out during this time and so we have sort of schedules and we definitely have calendar scrubs where we get out our calendars and we talk about what we're doing on the weekend or she's seeing family and that is not something that we're involved in because she's not out to her family as much as I am to mine and
Yeah.
and so we recognize even though her family is welcome here, etc., that those are decisions that she makes and that we have to make the ones that fit for us. But we definitely have our schedules and our routines and then the coming together and to talk about our day like you would do with anybody you live with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
love it. I appreciate you sharing a little bit of just like what the day in the life, right? Because
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
people looking in from the outside, I don't know. I think there's like maybe multiple camps here because sometimes we talk to people and they're like, it would be so amazing. I wish I could live in this sort of community living. And then we talk to other people like, oh my God, I can't even imagine it. But to really talk to people who are doing it and saying like, okay, well, what does yours look like? How do you move through the daily and how have you structured it in a way that works for you? Because I think everybody is going to do it a little bit different, right? Based on the types of people they are and the way that they move through the world as individuals is going to inform how you move through the world as a group.
Yeah, and that's the freedom that we have by
Yeah.
not being tied to a monogamous structure, so we can create the ones that work for us.
Yeah.
Mm.
I had one more just sort of logistical question. Do you each have your own sort of bedroom, like your own little sanctuary that you can retreat to if you need? Or I guess I'm just curious, how is the home sort of divided from a square footage perspective?
Sure. Um, so there are like 2 like master suites, I guess, in the house, and, so my metamour has her own space, and she works from home, and that room is big enough that she also has her office space in there.
Okay.
And then my husband and I have, uh, our bedroom and our space, and then my husband has an office, so he has his space that he can go to, and I also have a little office downstairs that I can go to. I'm more like I leave the house more, so
Mhm.
like, when I was writing my book, I went to the library a lot because I focus better when I'm away from the house. I have this sort of, I don't know, mom gene that pulls me into, "Oh, I could be doing laundry or I could be,
Mm.
whatever, so I need to be away from the house." But we definitely, all have our spaces, and then we also have a guest room, if I have another partner come over or my husband has another partner come over, like we have other places like that. But there's plenty of room here, which makes this house uh, very well suited to our living arrangement. I, Nobody feels a lack of space. There's also an area where my husband and my metamour work out at home. So there's a space that they do that. I'm the gym person, so I leave the house to go to the gym. And when I went to the Polytopia, polyamory conference in Portland, there was a panel discussion about communal living, and I go, "Am I in a communal living situation?" I hadn't really thought of it like that because I thought about, communes and, people growing their own food and definitely there were people on the panel that talked about that, but they're like, "Yeah, you're unrelated people living together, have intimate relationships." But one of the things they said in the panel discussion was how important it was to have your own space, even if that is just a corner of the room that's got your desk and chair, or even if that's just your bookcase and your dresser, but it's so important when you're living with other people to have your own space. So if anybody's trying this, really
Mhm.
think about that. Where can I go that's just for me? Or maybe it's, on the porch where you can have a cup of coffee or read a book or whatever, and that's just the place that you go and you're not surrounded by a lot of people.
Yeah.
But we just have 3. I mean, these
Yep.
other communal places have much more. And I was very encouraged by some of the intentional communities that in the Portland area that are being pursued.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I love that tip. And it lands for me too, because I think about when you're we've traveled a lot, and you're in a hostel or you're in spaces around a lot of other people, and there's just times where you just want to you want to know that the thing you left there is still where you left it, right? So even if it's just I have a closet and I know I can leave my shit in it and no one's gonna mess it and move it, and oh, I thought I'd clean it for you. Like, no, don't clean it.
Ugh,
Don't
now you
mess with
sound
it.
like my husband. What did you do with that thing? That I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I just put it in the drawer. He's like, I've been looking everywhere and I couldn't find it. So I am totally guilty of that sometimes. I'm trying to be better. Yeah.
It
Love
is
it.
easy when you live with somebody.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's easy. So especially in shared communal like
For
spaces,
sure.
like the kitchen, you know.
For sure. You also mentioned you and your husband are a little bit more free to be out these days versus your metamour. And I'm just curious what that process of coming out has looked like for you guys in your community and family.
I've been experiencing it a lot more in the last year with my book being published
Mm.
because I want people to read the book. I want people to know about the lifestyle. I want, to share this. This is why I wrote it, because I think it's important for people to know they have options. And to do that, I need, you know, when people say, "Oh, you're writing a book. What's it about?" Well, I say, "Well, it's called Saying Yes, My Adventures in Polyamory." And they're like, "Oh," and you get different reactions, but I'm committed, yes, this is my life and here's a link and I'm happy to tell you about it, XYZ. And even just yesterday, a cousin of mine, like one of my mom's cousins, first cousin
Mhm.
once removed, however that goes, sent me a text about some great thing that her kid was doing and that I should check it out. And I was on a date at the time. It was in the middle of the day. I was on a lunch date. And this is not someone I've explicitly said that I'm polyamorous with, to.
Mhm.
And so I said, "Oh, that sounds great. I'll check it out. I'm on a date now. I'll get back to you." And then she asked me what was going on with me, and I said, "Oh, yeah, well, my book's coming out, and I've been doing promoting and all of this." And she said, "Oh, what's your book about?" So I sent her a link, and kind of wait and see. But gradually, I have another family member who was for many years was in the publishing business. So about a year ago, has it been that long? Maybe not. When I started sending my book out to publishers, et cetera, and I asked her for her advice about something, and she didn't know I was poly, so I told her what my book was about, and so people get it that
Mhm.
way.
Mhm.
Um, but I actually have a whole presentation that I did at Southwest Love Fest about normalizing non-monogamy, what you can do, and it kind of takes you through, depending how out you are, the things that everybody can do to normalize non-monogamy, because I think that's so important, from not being out at all, like, I'm going to get fired, my family will shun me, when you are on vacation, when you are out of town, and I've had so many conversations with somebody like in an Uber or a Lyft, some ride share. This person I don't know, I'll never see again. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, my metamour this or our shared partner that." And they're like, "Oh, I've heard about that. What's that?" And you can talk about it and it's kind of a safe space.
Yeah.
Or you're out of town and you're shopping and you're like, "Oh, my metamour would love those earrings. Do they come in blue because that's her color?" And so little tidbits like that, and even if they don't know what it is, maybe they'll look it up when they go home. Maybe they'll go, "Oh my God, I don't know. Well, that sounds crazy." But they talk to their friend about it, and their friend says, "Oh, I don't know. I know someone that does that." And you have the conversation going. And then the more that you're out, like, oh, maybe you work in a workplace where that's okay. And maybe you can provide have input into the handbook, for the employment handbook, that people are protected and not discriminated against because of their family or relationship structure. And so maybe you can do a little bit more in that space. Maybe you're really out and you can be, on podcasts, or you can march in a pride parade. I mean, living in the DC area as I do, especially in this current political environment, people have to be more circumspect. And I have a partner that has a forward-facing job in the government, and he used to be able to be much more out about being polyamorous, and now he can't. It's like I can't tag him in any posts. I would, if I traveled somewhere, I could not be out when he was doing any kind of work because he's married. So who is this other person? That would not be cool. So you have to be aware of that, and I understand that, and that's why I think that people who can be more out, should. And just over the last year, I think the book has been the impetus. The people in my gym class, because I get excited about the book I'm writing, and they ask me about it, and so it's out in the open now in polyamory, and so I'll talk about it, and I'll have lunch with someone and discover, oh, they they dabbled in that, or they know somebody, or they know nothing about it, and that's, I think, normalizing it is just, it's part of the conversation. It's just like saying, you know, any other feature about you, like, oh, I was born in another country, or I speak another language, or this is my religion or my culture. This is my intimate lifestyle choice. And the more that we do that, and I think by writing books and having podcasts and it being in the national media, that we're doing that. And I have to say that I have not, to my face, received any really anything negative. I don't know what people say behind my back, but I don't, really care. And I did notice that you guys have. There's been an evolution here that I see your faces. So I was like, I'm very curious what what happened there. But I'm glad to see that you feel good about that, because I know that can be a very hard decision to make, especially if you have younger children. Like mine's grown up, so that was a concern when he was younger. But it's a very, I think it's just a very personal choice, and people have to make their own decision on that.
Yeah, it is a very personal choice. And I love that you've wrapped it up with that, because everyone's situation is very different. And I'm also, I'm so glad that you've received genuinely or generally good responses. And it sounds like overall with your family, and I'm a little curious about how it has gone with your son over time.
Oh, sure. No, he found out about it when he was a teenager. And that was fine. Like we dealt with that. But he is a full grown adult now. It's funny, my sister said, when I mentioned that he wanted to read the book, because kids are like, oh, am I in it? I want to read it. And my sister, who's read the book and she's known about, the contents, she's like, you can't let him read that. I was like, well, I can't really stop him. He's an adult. But it has things in there that I have not talked to him about. And the book starts with his father's infidelity, which is really not a thing also that we talked about, because we worked through it and we stayed together. So there was no reason to disrupt the house or to make the child feel insecure, etc. So when he said he wanted to read it, I said, well, you're not in it that much. And I read him kind of the summary blurb that's on the Amazon site. So it says about the infidelity, about, relationships with other people. I said, there's sex in there. I go, you can decide whether you want to read it or not. But I just want you to know. So he's very supportive, of the book, and he's proud of me. Whether he reads it or not is totally up to him. But yeah, he's cool with it. And at this point, his friends' parents didn't used to know, because I was worried when he was younger about that. But, now they know. So I think some of his friends know. And, Gen Z kids don't really care so much about this kind of stuff, I think. He's been great about it. When he first found out, it was a little like, not my business. I don't need to know about it. But he was like 17. And now he's older. So I've been fortunate that has not been a problem. And no one in my family seems to have it. They're more curious than anything else.
Yeah.
We started we started last year sending out our holiday letters jointly. So for many years, I would send out the holiday letter that had photographs of what we've done over the year and a little blurb. And then last year, I said to my metamour, I said, well, her picture had been in a lot of these over the last few years that we had been together. I said, would you like the holiday letter to be from the three of us? Because we are a family and we live together. And most of these trips we've all been on together anyway. And she was really touched. And she's like, yes, I would like the letter to be from us. And I send this holiday letter to my family, to my friends, to my family, to my family who are in their 80s, my family who are in their 20s. Just, it's the holiday letter. And so I did get a couple emails of what is a metamour and who is this person? And if anybody asked, I just explained it, like very matter of factly. And one, like my dad's cousin, she's like, wow, you live a very interesting life. And like my mom's sister was like, oh, I had to look that up. Okay. But I don't come from a restrictive, I kind of, unfortunately, religion plays a big part, I think, sometimes in the judgment about your relationship structure. And I'm fortunate that I don't come from that kind of religious background where I have to worry that I'm going to hell because of the life, this kind of life I live.
Yeah.
Because I feel that the life I live is considerate and honest, and I pay my taxes, and I try not to be mean to people, and I contribute to charities, and I try not to run red lights, and just tried to live a good life,
Yeah.
which I think is what we are all trying to do. And so that has really been more of the focus of my upbringing, not how many people you're sleeping with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that. And I think the way that you've talked about how you roll this out when you tell people, right? You seem to be approaching it in a matter of fact, like, this is who I am. It's not a like, oh, well, are you sure? Can I tell you? Like, it's about scandalous things. And because I think, right, we can set people up for that, right? We can set them up for the way they respond by how we frame what we're talking about. And I love hearing the way that you're just sort of like, I tell them what it is, and they just sort of take it as it is, right? Because I don't know, I think that's a really powerful way to go about, normalizing it, like you said.
Yeah, and if you talk about something normal that you did together, if we're talking about what we did over the weekend, and I said, "Oh, I went apple picking with my husband and my metamour." Like, okay, I could have
Yeah,
said, "I went apple picking with my friend and my sister and somebody from work." It's just like a regular thing that you do.
yeah,
And that kind of thing, I think, helps normalize it. That's why I love, like, the title of your podcast, because this is what we're trying to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it takes the focus, I think, away from oftentimes where people's brain goes is it's about the sex. And so if the only time they ever hear about non-monogamy is when there was a love affair and a triangle and all sorts of crazy stuff versus
Or an
like,
infidelity.
yeah, an infidelity or whatever, quote unquote crazy sexual thing is happening versus like, oh yeah, no, we went apple picking or yeah, we went to the grocery. I went to pick up groceries while my metamour made dinner and my husband mowed the lawn. Like those are the
Yeah.
types of things that it's like people are like, oh shit, it's just like normal stuff. Like maybe we don't need to make as big of a deal about it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the goal, so
that's the
Yeah.
goal. Yeah,
And also, sex is a very normal part of life
totally.
too. It's just that not one that people talk about as much often, and been taught often not to talk about it.
Yeah. Or to
So
sensationalize it in such a
yeah,
way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like one of my editors of my book when I tried to downplay that part, about, like, "What's the big deal?" And he said, "Well, when you interject sex into anything in this culture, it's just a completely different animal." But again, I think that in many ways is a religious aspect, and if you take that part out of it, it's not as much of a big deal.
Yep.
And if we're doing it with consideration and compassion and treating people like people and human beings and not just as things or a way to to satisfy us, then it's like any other considerate relationship. And I'm not saying that you might not have relationships that are like a fling or a one night stand or just an experience, but everybody has that. Monogamous people do that too. I
Hmm.
mean, monogamous people who are just dating and not intending to settle down. The thing is that if I'm dating multiple people, they know about it.
Yep.
I'm not like hiding it and going, "Oh, I'm trying to find my one and only, and I can't tell Jim that I'm seeing Patrick because they would get upset and they would get jealous." Like, so we're much more honest about it,
Yeah.
and it's just liberating. It's the fact that I can go on a date and talk to this guy about another date that I had and this cool restaurant we went to, and I can say, "Oh, that woman that you said that you saw, like, what was going on? Her dog was sick,"
Hmm.
and we can just talk about that like we're just regular people and we're not trying to hide our other relationships.
Yeah. Well, which I think is so important. I think people maybe miss the fact that we pick up on that, right? If you're dating three different people and they don't know about each other, like we pick up on that when we reach out and be like, "Hey, do you want to grab dinner next week?" "Oh, let me, you like," versus like, "Oh no, sorry, next Wednesday doesn't work because I've got another date, but how about Friday?"
Mhm.
Like that I think for most of us, like our nervous systems deal so much better with that than like, well, maybe they don't wanna see me. They don't like me because why wouldn't they wanna see me? But it's like there's stuff going on that you don't know about. And not that you
Mhm.
need to know everything going on in someone's life, but when we can just hear the honest, like, "No, next Wednesday's no good. I've got dinner with somebody else, but I'd love to see you on Friday."
Yep.
Like, what an easeful way to go about it. In my opinion. I don't know. Maybe it's not that easy for everybody, but
Well, I think we want it to be. I
yeah,
think, like, that's
that's the
the
ideal.
the ideal is to be able to talk about these things and to be able
Yeah,
to take some of the stigma away and just be able to have direct conversations, and
right.
yeah, if only it were just that easy.
Yeah. I was also struck, Natalie, a few minutes ago when you were talking about your son reading the book and the fact that he maybe didn't or he didn't know about the infidelity because it wasn't really a thing you talked about. And and I'm just like as as this is a weird thing to say, obviously, as somebody with parents, right? Like if I had known my parents went through something like that and came out the other side, maybe in the moment it would be a hard there'd be a lot of fear, like, "Oh, are they," like, the anxiety of, "Are they will they or won't they make it through this?" But to know later on coming back, like, looking back and being like, "Oh, wow, look what my parents did." Like, that I feel like that is a really powerful thing to learn as a kid, be like, "Oh, shit." I was off being a kid and my parents were navigating this and came through it and look where they are today. Like, I don't know, I think that's a really amazing thing to learn as an adult child of something like that.
And I think it's showing your kids that life can be difficult or messy or challenging, and that we'll figure out ways to move forward, and that everything doesn't have to be perfect to
Mhm.
still work and be good. And um I don't know, I think as parents you struggle with how much to tell or to show
Sure.
your kids, how vulnerable to be with them.
Yep.
But don't you want them to see what the real world is, and don't you want them to see how people can overcome adversity or health issues or mental illnesses or whatever it might be, that we are strong and adaptable. And I don't know that growing up that's what I learned, but I think that that's good, so that your kids see you as people, and when there are challenges you can figure out how to get through them. If you think your parents are perfect, I mean, and of course they're not, then you start to think, well, I'm not perfect. There must be something wrong with me. So if you don't see your parents as human,
Mhm.
that can create other problems for you. So it might be good for your kids to see, all right, well, my parents went through some stuff and they came out the other side, and that's okay. I'll figure my stuff out too. Yeah, and I try not to bombard him with talking about this stuff, but
Sure.
we have a pretty good relationship now. We can talk about that. But yeah, at the time I was like, oh God, how much do I tell him? Like, I don't want to
for sure.
burden him.
Yeah.
Like, this is really, who wants to know about their parents' sex life? That's gross, even when they're having sex with each other. So,
Yep.
like, I don't want to introduce all these other people into it.
Totally. Yeah. And I didn't mean it as flippantly, like, well, yeah, you should have just, like, it was an interesting thing thinking back and being like, yeah, I can see how in that moment, like the internal struggle of what do we share? How do we share? How do we do this in a way that creates stability for our kid, but also can show them the resilience in us? And how do we do that? Like, that is a really tough web to, like, needle to thread, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm I'm also curious, shifting a little bit more towards your book, because I'm curious what the process was like for you deciding to write this and put this out there. I know you've talked a lot about normalizing non-monogamy and wanting to do that, but I imagine that didn't necessarily happen overnight.
It was very much a multi-year process. I never thought I would be someone who wrote a book. I've been, writing legal briefs for many years, but it's completely different from writing a book. And I guess it started when I would sort of two ways. When I started dating on my own, and I went on a lot of first dates, and I would kind of tell my little poly story, like, this is my situation, this is what poly is to me. Um, I would tell that story, and I was like, God, I should just write this story down. Like, I tell it every first date I have. And sometimes I would come home from a date, and then I would tell my husband about a thing that happened on the date, or maybe some weird thing that happened on one of the apps. And I sort of started collecting stories just from my poly life. And I do recall, at least at one point, my husband was like, oh my God, you have so many stories, you should just write a book. And then I thought, oh, maybe I should just write down some of these things that have happened to me. So it started out very piecemeal. It was very episodic. Like, here's a story about this interesting thing that happened on my date, or here's a chapter about something that I struggle with, um, because I tend to date younger men. Like, this is a thing that goes through my head before I go on a date, or oh my gosh, I'm going through this thing with my metamour and we're really clashing and I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And so I read a little thing on that. So it started out as a bunch of different little stories, pieces, and then there was a process of putting it together. And I thought, I think I have something here that I would like to share with people who maybe were like me, who never even heard the word polyamory until they were grown up, maybe married, maybe had kids, and didn't even know that there was kind of this whole world and other avenues out there. Like, I'm kind of a person like many other people who has just taken this journey. So, and I didn't know anything about this. Wouldn't it be nice if I had known about this when I was a bit younger? If I had known about other people's experience, if I had known it was an option and it wouldn't break me in two, to try it and maybe thrive from it? Like, how many other Gen X women like me there's so many books now about disgruntled Gen X women who were told they could have it all. And then they found out having a career and having a family and not actually being treated equally in the workplace when you told that you were equal and all of those things that you deal with. Wouldn't it be nice to know that you also had relationship options? And so many women now of my age that feel like trapped in this relationship and trapped in this structure. And okay, like, we all deal with all kinds of things, but how about this? How about considering a way that you can expand your horizons, that you can meet new people, but you can still have the other things that are important to you. You can still have your marriage and your family and your nesting partner that is your person, but have loving relationships and make other connections and hear other points of view and not feel just trapped inside your white picket fence, maybe? So I don't know. I guess I just wanted to offer that experience, that perspective. I'm just one person. I don't have all the answers for sure. And this book is not a how to do 5 things I wish I knew, before I started polyamory. It is not. It is a memoir. It is my journey, but it is mostly about my polyamorous life. And it is about the swinging part. It is about different metamour relationships. It is about dealing with age disparities between me and my partner. It is about dealing with my partner having younger partners. It is all of those things that happen when you lead this kind of life. It's mistakes that I made, it's things that I learned, how I grew, dealing with a therapist who thought I was in an abusive relationship because I was polyamorous when I had just gone to her because I wanted some help with my impatience level, you know. Uh, so those everyday things that you encounter as you go through the journey of polyamory. And again, I say you, but this is just my journey. But I wouldn't be surprised if people read this who have embarked on this journey, that it resonates and they're like, yes, I felt that. Yes, I'm not alone. Okay. Or people that I talk to that are monogamous. I had this conversation just a few weeks ago with a monogamous friend at someone's birthday party. And she's like, I don't know, maybe I should try this non-monogamy thing. I mean, it seems like it's, everybody's trying it. And she just had this sort of defeated way about her. And I was like, well, I don't know, read the book, see what you think. I'm happy to answer questions. It works for some people, not others, but you don't know until you try. And I just never would have tried it until it was offered to me because I didn't know.
Yeah.
I think, kids know now, but I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. In many ways, it's a bit of a permission slip, like a permission slip slash, hey, did you know this even exists? Because we've talked to so many people who've told us very similar to what you just shared. They're like, I felt all these things. This is how I was, but I didn't know it was a real thing I could do. And then somebody came along and said, oh, by the way, did you know? And you're like, oh, I didn't know. Like, I don't know. I just think about it sometimes. I'm like, is it like maybe a sports analogy around this? Is like the idea that if you're somebody who's like, yeah, I go outside. I love going outside and I bounce this ball up and down and I throw it up and it goes through this metal ring and it's really fun. And then somebody comes along like, yeah, have you ever heard of basketball? And you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know there was like a whole bunch of people out there playing this game called basketball. And we've talked to so many people who are like, yeah, I do this, this, and this. And we're like, yeah, have you heard of the non-monogamy? And they're like, well, holy shit, look at what exists out there.
Yeah, or you've never seen a color television. You've only
Yep.
seen black and white and you're like, "What?"
Yeah. Yeah. Look at what the world is made of.
Yeah.
The colors of the world.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you, Natalie, for the work you do. I mean, writing a book is a huge undertaking and
normalizing non-monogamy
is two huge undertakings combined into one, a mountain to scale. So thank you for that. And one more time, just for anybody who, again, links will be in the show notes, but the name of the book and maybe the best place for people to go and find it.
Yeah, so the book is called Saying Yes: My Adventures in Polyamory by Natalie Davis. And you can put it into any search bar. You can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, bookshop.org. I think it's a couple dollars cheaper and you can go to your local independent bookstore. So I highly recommend that. I write on Medium more stories that have happened more recently.
Mhm.
And there's no paywall after like a couple paragraphs. So you might hear me on a couple podcasts, and I strongly support Open, the organization for polyamory and ethical non-monogamy. If anybody's interested in learning more about poly and advocacy and the legislative work to protect the rights of the non-monogamous, I encourage people to go to open-love.org, I think is the
Yep.
URL.
Yes, I think that's
Yep,
correct.
you got it right.
Okay.
And links will be in the show notes to their website and also to Brett's interview. We interviewed the
Oh, great.
director a couple years ago. So Brett's been on the show, and yeah, incredible work that they do. So huge fans ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
And sort of kind of wrapping up here, I mean, I want to give you a chance if there's anything else you haven't shared, but we also wanted to cue the listeners that you've agreed to stick around for our bonus lightning round for our our premium subscribers. So
Man, I don't know what I'm getting myself into, but
that's
I'm up
right.
for it.
That's right. It's going to be fun. We promise.
Okay.
And
But
so,
before we do
yeah,
that, is
before
there
we
anything
do,
else
yeah.
you wanted to get out there?
No, I mean, I would just say if you're interested in polyamory, just to go out there and find your community. Meetup.com is a good place to look. And I know that you guys also have meetups that you do, but there are people out there and it's okay just to try it. And if it's not for you, that's fine. You might just meet some fun people along the way.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you again, Natalie, for coming on, for sharing everything you did, for your work, and for your book, and for sticking around for some bonus questions. So we're going to leave it there for our non-premium subscribers, and for the premium folks, we've got a couple of fun questions coming your way in just a moment. And if you want to become premium, you can go do that. It just takes a second, and then you'll be able to listen to this. So here we go.
And we're back. Thank you so much, Natalie, for coming on again and sharing your story and update to your story. It was so wonderful to hear about how everything has been going, and we just really appreciate you coming on.
And thank you as well for the work you do, for the writing you put out in the world through Medium. And a reminder to everybody that Natalie just published her memoir yesterday. You can go grab a copy. It is called Saying Yes, My Adventures in Polyamory. Highly, highly recommend you grab a copy and support Natalie's work.
And before we end today, we have a couple of upcoming dates that we want to remind all of you about. The first is our next monthly community workshop is tomorrow, January 15th, 2026, with Marcia Bazinski. The workshop is called Why You Don't Know What You Want and How to Find Out. A quick reminder that recordings of these workshops are available to community members if you happen to miss the live workshop. And you can join the community over on the community tab of our website.
Next up, we've got our virtual speed friending coming back on January 22nd. Again, this is an event that is open to anyone. You don't need to be part of our community. These are open to the public. You just must be open-minded and respectful. They're a great way to meet like-minded people from around the world, and we'd love to have you come and join us. You can find out more information and sign up by clicking on the banner at the top of our website or by clicking on the events tab.
And finally, our next in-person retreat is coming up May 1st to 3rd, 2026, outside Orlando, Florida. It is called Relationship Recess, and you can find out so much more information over on the events tab of our website. And buy your tickets.
Yep, definitely get yourself a ticket. And next week, surprise, surprise, we've got another interview coming. We're talking with Willowcat. It's a fantastic conversation, and we can't wait to see you then. But remember, if you don't want to wait that long to get more of us and more conversations and content, you can join the premium subscription for just a couple bucks a month, and you can get some bonus questions with Natalie. So go check that out as well. You can find out more information on our homepage.
And I think that's it. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.